Hey everybody, Kevin here from Invisible Insights, and here's a little something for your performance edge. Today we're going to talk about Fight Club. And what I mean by Fight Club isn't the movie. What I'm talking about is conflict management. And conflict management is a very wild subject to talk about, right? It's about how to have good fights. And most people don't know how to have a good fight, but I'm going to give you 3 things that are going to help you figure out how to have a good fight. It's in a way it doesn't freak you out, because most people are freaked out by this whole idea of conflict and having conflict and dispute mediation and all this other stuff. And there's lots of names for it and everybody gets all blown up over it. But here's the bottom line. The bottom line is, if you know how to do it well, if you can really channel yourself in the right frame, you can really do some damage in a positive way going through the hard conversations. So let me give you the 3 things. It starts out with clarity. The second part is energy, and the third part is courage. Now, if you go into any kind of dispute or any kind of conflict, the goal that you have to stay up front is simply saying, hey, let's get clarity around this. So your phrase, your clarifying phrase is going to be, help me understand. And you're going to lean into a very robust listening thing. That means you're establishing eye contact, you're nodding yourself. There's advanced empathy that comes into place. That's a psychological term for counseling, but it applies especially when there's any kind of conflict. So when you're leaning in and you're listening and you're nodding and you're understanding, maybe you're even taking notes, which is probably not a bad idea. You're sending a message to the individual that you actually give a rip about what they're talking about. And then once they start talking about those things, then you can really start going like, okay, I need to unpack this, which takes us to energy. Energy is the part of conflict management where we say, what I'm hearing you say is. So help me understand is the clarity phase. It's where you're asking all the questions behind the questions, all the goodness that goes into figuring out what's really going on here. And then you get to say back to them what I'm hearing you say. Now, this is usually the impact point where pushback occurs. So when I say back to you what I'm hearing you say is and then you come back with, no, that's not it. I'm not going to get mad. I'm not going to get on my heels. I'm just going to go, oh, well, okay, we'll keep talking. And then you're going to say, what else? And then you're going to say, and what else? And then you're going to say, and then what else? Because it's in the what else's is where the truth lives. It's a huge invisible, by the way. There's this whole world behind what else. Because most of the time when we're trying to formulate things and we're mad, we're not really succinct in how we're putting together our words or our thoughts. And it's in the process of me going through that iterative process to be able to get that out of myself that I really get to the truth bomb. And then I come back and I go, with them, what I'm hearing you say is this, and this. And they go, that's it. Now, those 2 pieces take us to the next phase of conflict management, which is courage. And courage is the place where we sit down and we go, so what do we do with the truth? We got to the bottom line. We both understand one another. You understand what I'm saying. And guess what? You can even ask them to say back to you what they've heard you say. So that helps too, by the way. But when you get to that point where you both know where you stand, now the courage point is where you're calling the question, what do we do with this? What is the best way for us to move forward under the conditions of what we both understand? Wow, isn't that grand? I mean, think about it. Most people don't. They're just thinking you're wrong and we need to do this, or they're thinking you're wrong and we need to do this, and you're both fighting for whatever you feel like you're going to lose, because most of the time when it comes to conflict, we always think through the lens of loss less than never. So all of a sudden, what am I going to lose? What am I going to have less of? What am I never going to get back again? Right? We get defensive around that. When the truth is now that we know where each other stands, that goes out the window. Because what we're looking is for a productive conclusion. And when we get into that realm of courage, yes, is there a decision? Yes. Is there someone who's going to get more of their way or less of their way? Yes. But how do we do it in an effective way? We want to have a win-win as best as possible, but not always. And sometimes we have to walk away from a situation where we both don't agree on what the solution is and come back later and look at it from a different perspective and basically reframe it. And that reframing is just in terms of looking at it through the lens of others in the organization. Maybe we look at it through the lens of what the vision of the organization or the values of the organization is. What is the best thing for everyone else? And what it does, it allows you to take yourselves out of it And now it becomes more of a concept, right? It becomes more of something, it's not personal anymore. It's lives in a different realm. And that is what I have found to be the best and most practical way to do conflict management. We blow it up and we think it's got to be this big old hairy fight that we have. But this is a version of a good fight because we can disagree all along the way. But the goal is it's not personal. And once we start seeking to understand before being understood, that really does pave the way to getting to the courage piece, to where maybe, just maybe, someone's willing to give and someone's willing to take for the greater good. So what's that look like for you? And how good are you at it? And why don't you send me something back on that one? Because this is probably good, worthy of a question or two. So if you happen to get this and you want to email back, I promise you, I'll shoot you some thoughts on it. So, hey, take care, everybody. And always remember this, when you see the invisible, you become unstoppable. Take care.